Good afternoon, all of you. And today in this class, we will discuss metaphor. Now, what is metaphor and how metaphor is different from other literary devices that we use? The employment of metaphor in a poem or in day-to-day communication, and some theoretical perspective related to metaphor we will also discuss. So now the first thing that we know about metaphor, that metaphor is a figurative statement. But the other two concepts that are associated with metaphor, they are mixed metaphor and dead metaphor. Now, in a way, mixed metaphor and dead metaphor, they are also figurative statement. What do we mean by a figurative statement? A word or phrase used to describe somebody or something else in a way that is different from its normal use. So when Robert Burns says, "My love is like a red, red rose," Robert Burns very specifically uses the word like. My love is like a red, red rose. So this type of use, when you very specifically use like or as, then that is an example of simile. If we say my love is a red, red rose, then it is a metaphor. But when we use my love is like a red, red rose, then it is not a metaphor. It is an example of simile. So in a way, you find that simile and metaphor, they are constructed in the similar manner. But what is the difference? The difference is that when you employ simile, then the comparative terms such as like and as are used, and when you use metaphor, then these comparative terms such as like and as, they are removed. So this is one difference that we find. Otherwise, they are same. They are constructed in a similar fashion at the same time for similar purpose. So this one little difference is there that we find. Now, a word or phrase used to describe somebody or something else in a way that is different from its normal use. So normally we try to say what we want to say. What do I mean? That means that we do not use figurative language or figurative statement in general. But in literature, we find lots of figurative statements that are used. So for example, when we say she has a heart of stone, now she has a heart of stone, that this heart of stone is actually a metaphor that we are using. And what does it mean? When we say she has a heart of stone, the meaning is she is very cruel. That we want to say that she is very cruel. She is unkind. That we are saying. Now, why we use a metaphor, or why we do like like a word or phrase used to describe somebody or somebody or something else in a way that is different from its normal use. So why do we do this? What is the purpose of doing this? We do this to show that two things have the same qualities. That is first thing. So we have like a heart of stone is equal to cruelty. That equivalent that we try to find out through metaphor. And the second thing is, and that is more literary, that we want to make the description more powerful. So again, the concept of making something strange, familiar. That is actually the purpose of using a metaphor. So when we say she is very cruel, then that's not a figurative statement. That is a matter of fact. In fact, like, you know what is the meaning of the word cruel, and you are saying she is very cruel or she is unkind. But here we are saying she has a heart of stone. Now we want to make the description more powerful. We want to make an impact upon the audience. So for that particular purpose, again there is a comparison, but here there is a there's a description that is more powerful than simply saying cruelty. So this is one simple use of metaphor that we have seen. Now we will look at the use of metaphor in a poem titled Dreams by Hughes. Now this poem, a very short poem of 8 lines only, and you can see that in each line there are 4, 5, and in one line there are 6 words. So it's like a very short poem that we have. Now Dreams is an early poem by American poet Langston Hughes, one of the leading figures of 1920s arts and literary movement known as the Harlem Renaissance, originally published in the magazine The World Tomorrow in 1923. Now there are, when we have seen this background, then we should also know what is Harlem Renaissance. So this is a notable phrase of Black American writing centered in Harlem. So Harlem is, it was a predominantly Black area of New York City in 1920s. And this phrase Harlem Renaissance, it was first used by Locke's in Locke's anthology, The New Negro, published in 1920. Now, in this poem, a very short poem of 8 lines, very few words are used, not more than 50 words are used in this entire poem. And we will try to find out the figurative statement known as metaphor. So I'm reading this poem. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Now, the end of the poem. Now, hold fast to dreams. Particularly when it comes to dreams, then we have a concept that once we are asleep, then we dream about things, people, incidents, situations. So that is one meaning of dream. But here, do you think the same meaning of dream we are using? No. Hold fast to dreams, that means here dreams means your future plans. What are your goals for future? You need to hold fast to those dreams, not the dreams that you see once you are asleep. So we are not talking about those dreams. So again, a word or phrase used to describe somebody or something else in a way that is different from its normal use. Normal use of dream is different, and here the use of dream is different. So we know what is dream here. For if dreams die, now again a personification, like human beings, animates, they die, but dreams, again we are personifying dream. So that is one thing. Life is a broken winged bird. Life is a broken winged bird. That means life is harsh and difficult. That is the meaning, that life is a broken winged bird. Life is harsh. Life is difficult. Again, a metaphor. You are not saying plainly life is harsh, life is difficult, but you are using a metaphor. Life is a broken winged bird that we are using, that cannot fly. Again, that cannot fly is again a personification of life. Like we consider life as a bird, and that personification that we can see. Hold fast to dreams. Again, the repetition of the first line in the fifth line. For when dreams go, again personification, because human beings, animals, insects, they come and go, but not dreams. Again, a personification. Life is a barren field. Now, barren field is another metaphor that we are using here. What is the meaning of this barren field? Now, something that is barren, that indicates emotional and spiritual death. So we are indicating that there is some emotional and spiritual death if if your dreams go. If there are no dreams in your life, then it's like a life, uh, like a death. So physically you will be alive, but emotionally, spiritually, you won't be alive. Frozen with snow. So again, what are the things that can be frozen? Like human beings, they can be frozen, fine. Vegetables, they can be frozen, fine. Water can be frozen. So again, life is again used in a different manner here. So you can see in this very short poem, there are so many metaphors, and because of the use of these metaphors, a strange quality we get in these literary lines. So this strange quality is also responsible for making something literary. So though we know that metaphor is a tool in the hand of a poet, and poets generally they use this tool, so we can't say that metaphor is essential for making a literary piece literary. That is not. It is simply a tool. Basically, syntax is responsible. Syntax means verbal patterning, that is responsible. But still, writers they use metaphors quite often. And here we have this one example that how figurative statement or how figurative language is used. So this is an example of simple metaphor. We will also discuss mixed metaphor and dead metaphor. What do we mean by them? But before that, it is fruitful to see the critical opinion of I.A. Richards on metaphor. So I.A. Richards breaks metaphor into two types. One is vehicle. And what is vehicle? Word or phrase figuratively applied to or contextually applied to. That is vehicle. And second is tenor, literal meaning of the words. So we have seen previously that a metaphor has two meanings. For example, one meaning is vehicle figuratively or contextually, and one is tenor. Let's see this with respect to dreams. Now, one dream is a dream that we see once we are asleep. That is one meaning. So this is a literal meaning of a dream, that is tenor. But what is vehicle here? Vehicle here is goals for future. Figuratively, we mean this. Contextually, we mean this, that hold fast to dreams. Hold fast to dreams. Figuratively, goals for future. That means grab your goals and do something for your future plans, because time is flying. That's the essence of this poem. So, like in a poetry line by Emily Dickinson's, I felt a funeral in my brain. Now, I felt a funeral. One funeral, when someone is dead, when someone is not alive. So that is the tenor. Literally means what? Literally, that is the funeral. But figuratively, what is the vehicle? The vehicle is that Dickinson is getting mad. Dickinson is falling into madness, and she wants to highlight this thing, that I felt a funeral in my brain. So again, this concept is also important, that vehicle is a figurative a word or phrase figuratively applied to or contextually applied to, and tenor means literal meaning of the word. So this division is also important with respect to metaphor that we have seen given by I.A. Richards. Now another important thing is dead metaphor. Now dead metaphor, they are also figurative statement. But what happens that the figurative nature of a metaphor dissipates when it is used too often. So metaphorical side comes to seem literal. So that means too much used, and because of that too much used, when we say time flies, now time flies, or when we say time is money, now it is used so often that the figurative meaning dissipates, and this metaphorical side, this side comes to seem as literal. Now we see time is money. Now we see, okay, time is money, and that metaphorical sense becomes literal, too literal. So vehicle fades in meaning. For example, in a phrase, grasp an idea. Now generally we use like for comprehension. Have you grasped that idea? Have you grasped that statement? Have you grasped that concept? So grasp signifies only its tenor. The tenor is comprehend and not grab hold to. Right. So grasp, the meaning of grasp is grab hold to, but we are only using the tenor. That is, the meaning of grasp is comprehend. Comprehend, that means, did you have comprehension, or did you comprehend? That meaning is there. So again, that type of concept, when we say time is running out. So actually, if we look at time, then time is a continuum. Fine. So through language, we have this division of present, past, and future in different languages. So, but still, it is not same. The way we see time is not the way someone who lives in Europe, someone who lives in Africa, someone who lives in, let's say, China, perceives time. But when it comes to English speaker, then time is running out. Though it's a metaphorical use, running out, uh, because how can time be run out? Like you can live or die, or that is your limitation, but not the limitation of time, because time is actually a continuum. So this metaphorical side, when we say time is running out, comes to seem literal, too literal, because we use it too often. So that concept is that metaphor that we have. Then another type of concept that is related to metaphor is mixed metaphor. Again, a metaphor like a figurative statement. But what happens when you try to apply two metaphors to one thing? Fine. So in a statement, you apply two metaphors, and because of that application, the entire effect becomes ridiculous or illogical and sometimes funny. For example, those vipers stabbed us in the back. Now, so many things are metaphorical here. Vipers. Now, vipers, um, they are like, viper is a type of a snake, reptile that we have. But here, viper means someone, some person, somebody. Those vipers. That is, now what is the quality of a viper? To inject, to bite, venom. But vipers, what they are doing, they are stabbing. Now stabbing, a human being can do. Vipers, because they are reptiles, they do not have hands and legs, so they can't stab actually. So again, like two metaphorical things we are using. Those vipers stabbed us in the back. So again, viper is one metaphor. Stabbing us is not the actual act of stabbing, and actually vipers can't stab. Human beings can stab, and even when we use like those people stabbed us, then again we are not actually referring to the act of stabbing someone, but we are referring to an act of deceiving. So when we say those vipers stabbed us in the back, then we are talking about those people deceived us actually. Fine. And in the back here doesn't mean your actual back. So again, this back is a metaphor here. Here the back means when you were not aware. Fine. When you were ignorant. So when you are not aware of their schemes, when you are not aware of their conspiracies. So, like in a statement like this, those vipers stabbed us in a back. You have three metaphors here, and the result, because the result is quite illogical and ridiculous. In Hamlet, we also find in one of the soliloquies, to be, not to be, that is the question. And in that particular soliloquy, we have this line: to take arms. Here, arms means guns, ammunitions. Fine, take arms against a sea of troubles. Again, like to take arms. That means to take to initiate a fight against a sea of troubles. Now, sea of troubles here, again, your own troubles you are talking about, like, because we know the story of Hamlet, that why Hamlet is a failure, or why the character Hamlet is a failure, because in Hamlet, Prince Hamlet plans to kill his uncle Claudius, but there is always a perpetual postponement of his plan to kill his uncle, and mentally he is in agony because of this perpetual postponement, and he is questioning whether the ghost tells me the entire the story that is true or not. Fine. So all such things are there. So that type of thing is there, to take arms against a sea of trouble. That means the mental agony that you have, you need to fight against those, or like you need to surrender. So it's like Hamlet is actually contemplating a suicide here in this soliloquy, to be or not to be, whether it is because you know that the life will be tough. So should I fight against all such problems that are going to be during this lifetime, or should I end my life? So that to take arms against a sea of troubles. Again, the mixing of metaphor that's there, and because of this mixing of the metaphor, because the combination of qualities that we have with the arms and a sea of troubles, they are different. The entire effect becomes illogical and ridiculous. So this is the concept of mixed metaphor there, and this is for the day. So we have discussed a few things, starting from metaphor, and how metaphor is different from mixed metaphor and dead metaphor, and what is the similarity between all these three terms. And we have also seen a viewpoint by I.R. Richards, that how in one metaphor we have these two things, a vehicle and a tenor. And we have also seen the application of a metaphor in a poem by Langston Hughes, a very famous poem. You can learn this poem by heart as well. So this is for the day, and if you have any question, you can ask me. I will try to answer that.